We're going to talk about first what's holding us back from letting Christ lead us in one particular element, one particular area in our life, and how we can overcome that. Sounds good? As a general setup? I'll explain more in a second. First, I wanted to get in this little passage. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, thank God, because your church is enormous. Everything here is enormous, so you can read off the PowerPoint with no problem. Okay? Thank God for your enormity of this church. So here it is in Matthew 16. So Jesus came. This is the slide title is nailed it, because this part we do very, very well, very well. Like, we got this under control. So he says, Jesus came to the region. Thank you so much. Caesarea Philippi, and he asked his disciples, saying, "Who do men say that I am?" Some say John the Baptist, some say Elijah, Jeremiah, other prophets. They just Googled like every prophet in the world. And then our star guy, Simon Peter says, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Jesus answered and said to him, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, because you didn't figure this out, heaven figured it out for you." Why is this the part that we're good at, that we nail? This is basically us coming to church every Sunday and saying, Kyrie eleison, the creed, like all the Orthodox stuff. We know this part. Anybody here not know the creed? Like, somebody from church will fire you or something. Like, it's like, you have to know it. You have to know this stuff. You have to be able to come on a Sunday and say all the right things. Right? So Jesus comes to us on a regular Sunday morning and a nice Friday evening like today and says to you, "Good job. Thanks for knowing all of the things that I've been teaching you on these Friday nights for all this time." So far, so good. So this is like the feel-good part of the talk. The rest may not be as feel-good, but hopefully still relevant. This part is where it gets a little tricky. This is right after the first verse, so you figure, I'm sure it's a nice conversation that Peter and Christ are having. Everything's cool. They're not going to get into a disagreement so fast about something so important. Here, as you see behind me, it says, "From that time on, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and chief priests and scribes and be killed and raised the third day." Here's where it gets interesting. And here's the focus of our topic really for tonight. Here's where it begins. Peter took him aside and began to, someone read that verse. Read it for me. Just the word. He began to rebuke him. Have you ever rebuked a priest? I mean, hopefully not. Don't rebuke. Have you ever rebuked a bishop? Have you ever taken Mbamina aside and rebuked Mbamina? I hope not. Our main man, Peter, took Jesus aside and he rebuked him. He said, "Let me tell you something, Jesus. You cool. But I gotta tell you something. You're messing up. Something's not right about your whole scheme. It's not right." And he rebuked him. Peter rebuked Jesus. Isn't that bizarre? What are you rebuking for? What did he say? He said, "Far be it from you, Lord, that this shall not happen to you." What was Jesus talking about? Was Jesus talking about, like, what? World domination? Was he talking about, like, having the most followers on Twitter? Like, what was he talking about just then? Anybody know? Anybody read the passage 3 verses up? What was he talking about?
Dying.
Being killed? Yeah, he was talking about going to the cross. He was talking about doing something sacrificial, like he was going to lay his own life down for the rest of us. And then Peter said to him, "Far be it from you, Lord." In our topic today, we're going to talk about this thing of sharing our faith. And every time, like without fail, that the topic comes up of us being Christian in the city or country that we live in, and we want to share our faith, somebody pulls me aside and rebukes the heck out of me. Says, "Far be it from you, Mina Merhom. Go back home to New York and go do New York stuff." I say, why? Why is it that we share our faith? And why is it, that's what we're going to talk about, but why is it so rebukable? Why is it so difficult for us to talk about? Whose idea is it to share our faith? Like, what's the number one reason we do it? Do we do it because we're, like, really awesome at it? Like, I was reading a great book today by an Orthodox priest who was saying, like, who invented this idea of sharing our faith? Just give me a hand raise, because my hands are tied. Just tell me something. Who invented it? Jesus. Very good. Very good. The guy that invented the rest of the things that we do in church. So we're not doing it. Sometimes we feel like the church is telling us to do it because, you're so exceptional at it. Or we're doing it because You know, we're on a commission-based system here in the church, and tithes are going down, so, you know, let's get some more donors to come. That's not what we're doing. The reason why I bring this up as a central point, the beginning of our discussion, is if we get this point really, 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 really clear, and we decide in our hearts, if you decide in your heart, maybe this is like an interesting commitment that you'll make for the first time in church. I commit to not rebuke Jesus, to not tell him, sorry Jesus, you're wrong. Jesus, just don't do that stuff, Jesus. Well, we do that though. We do it. Whether we admit it or not, whether we're conscious of it or not. Sometimes it's very vocal. I'll give you an example. One time I went to a church, and I tried to tailor the message based on each church group. This was an Arabic-speaking group. So I talked in Arabic, which was Haga Ghariba for me. Right? But I spoke to them specifically about reaching out to Muslims. Halfway through the talk, only 15 minutes in, like we have 25 minutes for this talk. That talk ended very early because they just stood up and said, Mina, thank you very much. Just go home, just get some coffee. We're not going to do this. We're not going to love Muslims. I said, what do you mean? It's not your call, it's not your decision. I know Habibi, but we'll email you all about it later. In the beginning of this talk, where is your heart about this topic? About the topic of saying, in your life, in your university life, we have an invitation that is not voluntary to be able to give life to people around us. I invite you to have this attitude from the beginning of the first slide, the one where Jesus says like, oh, good job, because you're following me where I go, versus the other one. Because here's the thing, you know, we call ourselves Christians are supposed to be like blank of Jesus. What are we supposed to be doing? Like leading Jesus or following Jesus? This is not the trick part of following, right? By definition, like I follow people on the way here to church. Can you be in the front and follow Jesus? You can't. What about when Jesus takes a turn that you don't like? I don't know anything about the roads here, but I know Dundas. That's like my favorite street. If you're going on Dundas or Dundas, and then Jesus decides to go turn on whatever other street, tell me the street. Burnham. Can you still follow Jesus and not make the turn? What if, about the shut, Jesus leads you to a bad neighborhood? What if, some salib, Jesus leads you where there's like people who are very, very poor. There are neighborhoods that we've lived in, like we've lived around our whole lives, but we've never been to, right? And for good reason, like maybe for safety and stuff like that. Our point here, if we decide we want to follow Jesus, we will not tell him where to go. Deal? Or no? Or no deal? We can stop here, I don't mind. Just more time for me. Yeah, we're good? We can go? All right, we can keep going. So what do you feel like this guy? I'm not really sure if I buy it. I just love Google Images. And here are some of the reasons. I was originally going to talk maybe about this list for the whole time, but God delivered me from it because I hate talking about this for so long. We'll go through it real quick because we already decided we're not leaders, we are followers. So it doesn't matter what our reasons are. We have reasons, these are all excuses. The first one is one of my favorites. I inspire spontaneous baptisms. This is like when you say to somebody, hey man, we should share our faith. No. I preach by my actions. Every time people see my actions, they're so holy, they just look for the nearest fountain because they want to get baptized. My actions are crazy holy, you don't know. You don't see me on FIFA, they're even holy on when I play video games. Our actions are not that holy, guys. Okay? They're good. They're good actions. They're good. They're not bad. They're good. For our actions to inspire spontaneous baptisms, they have to involve really loving people who are in need. And that doesn't happen when we're just going about our daily lives and we're just going to smile more at people. Yeah, Habibi. Wow, that's great. Smile more. Oh, we're going to open doors for people. Yeah, that's what Jesus really wants us to do. Carry your cross and open doors for people. No, there's more than that. There's more than that. So it's not just preach by actions is very good, and the quote that everybody misquotes from this guy St. Francis of Assisi. Remember that one? He says, preach the gospel at all times, but if necessary, use words. Yeah?
It's actually a false quote.
Yeah, I agree with my man Nina.
He didn't say it.
He didn't say it, and even if he did say it, you know what St. Francis of Assisi did? Mad stuff with his actions, but we remember a quote that he may or may not have said. So by definition, he said stuff. He said stuff. Because St. John Chrysostom says, no one will know the mystery of the Eucharist by your actions. No one will know Christianity by just how lovey-dovey we are. That doesn't mean we shouldn't love people, but it means if we're going to expect our actions to change people, we have to really, really, really love them. Second one is hashtag #JohnnyKnow. That's also my favorite. It was a trending topic on Twitter like 3 months ago. No. This is the one where people are like, no, but I'm like bad, I'm not good enough, I smell, like all these things that are, people say weird stuff, like, I would love to share my faith, but, yani, handi, like what is that? Like, what, you have to go to the bathroom? Like, what is that? What is that face? It's the Coptic humility face, you know that Coptic humility face? And then, let me share with you, God knows that you have Coptic heartburn. He understands. He understands that none of us are good enough to share our faith. We get it. We get it. I'm really working on myself first, man. I know. We all are. The mystery of Christianity is part of us working on ourselves is by being able to help other people. That is one of the ways that we work on ourselves. It's a mystery, but it's true. Same goes with the third one, the pride one. Fourth one is one of my favorites. Fourth one is, that's nice, but our church actually has its own needs. Isn't that true? Why would we care about anybody who is not part of this, mega gigantor church? Do people exist outside of this world here? Outside of this country? That's, are there non-Christians, are there human beings outside of here? Right, like what's trending these days is like the people that are dying in Haiti, and the people that, God forbid, but maybe will be suffering in Florida because of all these hurricanes and all this stuff like that. Outside of the walls, outside of these four walls, like, does Jesus care about these people? Probably, because he cares about a lot of people, if not all people, I think. The church will always, always care for its people. There's a beautiful verse in Matthew 23:23 that guides the church. The church says, these things you ought to have done without leaving the others undone. That you can't miss one thing. It's like saying you're at home and your parents tell you, hey, can you help out with the chores in the kitchen? Say, oh, what about the bathroom? We can't leave the bathroom. Okay, but there's also the kitchen. In the early church, the concept of a diocese, when Emma was enthroned over this diocese, he wasn't enthroned over a bunch of ethnic people in a land region. He was enthroned over everybody. Everybody in this area is under his care. His grace prays for everybody. And for us, it's the same. So we can't ever just imprison ourselves inside the church. Does that make sense? And the last one is also one of my favorites, where it says, nothing will change. Do you believe that? Just hand raise if you believe. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, I'm glad that no one does. No one does. One person scratched, but everybody else believes. Believe that something will change. So far we agreed, what you guys are telling me, is that we want to follow wherever Jesus is sending us. We're ditching all of our excuses, and we believe that something will change. Yes? Or no? Okay. This picture, I can't remember if I showed this to you guys last time I was here. I can't remember when I was here or who else was here, but I like it. Just because it sums up when you have the contrast of one dude in shorts and three, people who are not in shorts. That's all I'll say about that. Okay? And we had this amazing conversation about Jesus in the Quran.
Is that you?
Yeah, it's me. I was much younger and handsomer than them. Still me. Right? And there was another one of our servants, she's in between the two ladies, because you can see her hair. The point of this picture, besides telling you the fact that we spoke for 3 hours about Yeshua from the Quran, and they had so many questions. They were from Saudi Arabia, this was in Phoenix. And they were just waiting for someone to ask them their perspective and to hear more like, is it true that Jesus did this? Is it true that Jesus did that? Because the Quran says a whole lot about Jesus. And they were very happy to discuss it and chat about it. We had some shade, it was awesome. And there was Nana in the shade too, I remember. But I show you this to say that people are hungry. And the background of this is even more interesting. When we were walking around a campus, this is University campus, University of Phoenix, and we said, who would be least likely to want to hear about God? And the people that I was with was a bunch of Coptic people, of course, because they're mean to me. They picked up these, they were like, they don't want to hear about God. Go talk to them. All right, we will. And this is what happened. Here's the next question. Anybody ever follow this guy? Ever seen this guy on Twitter? He's one of my favorite Twitter handle people. He says, you mean to tell me you brought Bibles but you didn't bring food? You didn't bring no food just to keep it real gangster? He says, here's the question. Where do we start? Okay, say, if we believe all the other stuff before, can we start with the obvious? And I listed for you some organizations, one called FTFT, one called Hunger for Hope, and on my other edit, I listed even a bunch of other ones. One called SALT, one called Light, like all these creative Coptic names. And all of them are just organizations that said, Hunger for Hope is one in Vancouver, so it's Canadian, so it's local. Like they do all the stuff that you guys do, like syrup and all that stuff. And they follow Blue Jays and all that. They decided, you know what, let's start with the most obvious. What's the most obvious thing ever? Is that people in our city, in our community, in Mississauga, who are hungry and sick, and Jesus said, go to those people. Sometimes we want to really be obscure, like, what's the will of God for Mississauga? Who does God really want us to reach out to? Maybe it's people who are hiding behind the chandelier. No, it's not. The poor, Jesus said this, he said, the poor you have with you always. So that's one suggested starting point. And I can give you, if you want, there's like a detailed how-to that's so easy, and every single one of these organizations were started by university guys, your age, who said, you know what? I'm so tired of sitting in youth meetings and listening to people talk to me, and maybe you feel the same way. Okay, as much as I wouldn't be offended by that, I would be happy to hear that. And I want to do stuff. I don't want to just sit here and be the Coptic audience my whole life. I want to do stuff. They did stuff. And they inspired others to do stuff too. And those stuff specifically was caring for the poor and the sick. And this was blessed by the Pope in 2007. Every cleric in North America heard about it. Good stuff. YouTube it. So if I'm going too fast, let me know. I'll slow down. I'm just on time constraints, so I don't want to go over. Do you guys remember, I don't know if I showed this last time again or not, but I'll tell you real quick. These two fellows are two friends of mine that I met. One guy on the right, his name is Jose. Jose grew up a Christian in Chicago. And through interacting with wonderful fellowship in his community in Chicago, he became Sheikh Imam Jose, who is he's the leading prominent youth sheikh, I like saying sheikh, in Virginia. We met him, it's a whole other story of when we went to chat with people like in a mosque. I won't belabor that for now, but we met him there and we heard his story. And he was a regular university guy. And he's like, man, you know, the Christians, nobody really talked to me, but the Muslims, God bless the Muslims, they really chatted with me. We talked about how, you know, those Christians believe in 3 gods, Muslims believe in 1. So I became an imam. I said, wow. We talked for a while with Imam Jose. It was about an hour and a half. And it was around like after Fatar, so he was pretty hungry, but before Fatar. The other guy is a guy named Father Daniel. A lot of you guys probably, who met Father Daniel? Okay, so I won't belabor his story, you probably know it. For those of you who don't, he's a Coptic Orthodox monk. And does he look Egyptian to you guys? I don't know, right? When I met him, he called himself the human highlighter. He said he's so like tall and like glowing. I was like, yeah, that's true. His beard is a lot thicker now, but this is when I saw him. He was the same situation. Young guy, university, fellowship, Coptic, into Copticness. This is pretty cool. I could do it. I can go to a meeting. I can listen to it. I like it. I want to become a Christian. I want to become a monk. Now I'm a monk in Texas. These are two very real possibilities in our lives, guys. And C.S. Lewis says this one thing, is that every day we're taking a step closer to heaven or a step closer to hell. In our interactions with people, we're pushing people either a step closer to imamhood or a step closer to monasticism. It doesn't have to be monasticism, but a step closer to Christ or a step closer to, like, Muhammad, peace be upon him. Okay, like that's just the reality. Sorry, I'm just used to speaking to a lot of Muslims. You know what I'm saying? That's the truth. That's the truth. And what we choose to do about that can wind up having an Imam Jose or an Abu Nadain. So real quick, I want to run through this like a little bit of a how-to. Well, how would I do it? How would I talk to people? One, you ever notice how Christ always began with a gift? Part of what we believe about grace is that it's a gift of God, that it's nothing that we do to earn it. And that's why Christ always gave a gift. On university settings, you'd be amazed if you were just like every time we do this in the university, and we've tried at least 10 across North America, you open up with giving something for nothing, people are like, okay, do I have to sign something? Is there like a student petition against the president, like to make America great again? Like, what do I have to do? Sorry, that's America. What's Canada? Make Canada even greater? I don't know. It's super great. But that was the first part, is giving something away for free, and people get blown away by that. Then, listening. One of the biggest misconceptions that we have is that we have to yap. But you'd be amazed if you ask people questions. They would be interested to tell you what they think. And if you're actually listening to what they're saying, and if your third thing here, if you're staying on target on who Jesus is, not who the church is, not why they're so mad at politics, not why they're so upset about all this other stuff, but the target of who Christ is, you'd be amazed at the results that we get. The fourth one here is being yourself. A lot of times people tell me like, oh, I would love to share my faith, whether it's people who are sick or poor or whatever, but I'm not that kind of guy, I'm not an extrovert. Guess what? There's a lot of introverted people out there. Do you think everybody like is crazy like me? A lot of people are not crazy like you guys. And the people who are not crazy and not like, want to hear from you. They don't want to hear from me. I'm too animated for them. Who's going to reach them better? Me or you? You. So don't rob yourself of the opportunity to share Christ with people who are like-minded, same personality like you. Maybe, like, I know basketball. If I try to talk to somebody about hockey, they'll know that I'm a silly American and I don't know anything about hockey. Maybe you know about hockey. You get what I'm saying? God wants to use our personality to reach people. I'll skip this real quick for a second, just for the sake of time. One thing I'll highlight for you, or maybe two of them. Sharing your story. One of the biggest things that we want to be able to share with people is like, this is the Facebook test, right? If you find something cool on Facebook and you think it's so amazing, what do you do to it? You share it, right? If you come to church on a Friday night and you think, man, there's something really cool here. This God thing is for real. Like, it's not like a gimmick. It's not like a weird social club, like an awkward way for us to just get trapped on a Friday. No, it's really cool. Then you'll be able to share a little bit of a story with your friends. Look, it's not like I have a very big crazy story about I was like a drug addict and then I stopped being a drug addict. No, just regular. I was coming to church, but I really felt like when I needed God, I can go to him, and he really is there. Sharing your story. And the last one there is inviting people to just one next step. Sometimes we get so caught up with, we want to invite people to the liturgy. Like one of my friends, when he was getting ready to invite one of his friends, he's like, okay, cool, I'm going to bring him to Palm Sunday. Come on, man, hold on. That's tough. Palm Sunday's tough. Okay, it's a lot of gospels. Maybe inviting people to one next step doesn't even have to be a physical location. It could be, hey, check out this verse. Check out this book. Check out this fellowship. Come watch the Jays game. Whatever. Be a part of the body of Christ somehow. Do we have time? 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Maybe. 2 minutes? Okay. Some things to avoid. Number 3. How many people here are fluent in Christianese? You guys have advanced doctoral degrees in Christianese. When you talk to people, sometimes I was sitting with a bunch of youth one time and I was like, can you describe to me who Jesus is? And one of them was like, incarnation. I was like, bro, really, the incarnate, what does that mean? I was like, I don't know, it's Sunday school. Is that the right answer? I was like, no, it's not the right answer. There has to be something more there than just throwing out random words. There are a lot of words we may or may not know the meaning to, and that's what Christianese is. When you talk to people who are not Christian, talk in such a way that they can understand what you're saying. Break it down. Don't use weird biblical terms that you may not necessarily know the answer to or the definition of. Does that make sense? There's too much here. Sorry I prepared too many things. I'll leave you with one last thing. Cool? Because I have here also the people that you'd be most likely to meet. And oftentimes we think the most common person that we meet are the person who's like ready to, if you bring up Christ, they will literally just pounce on you. And what we've seen statistically is that's not the case. Out of all the people that I was doing this full time for a while as a background thing. Right now I'm a physician, but before this, I did this full time for several years, where we just took teams and we went around different places in cities in North America. And what we found was, A, like I said, people are willing, and B, most commonly, you find people that had a church background, they kind of lost it, they don't really know why, and they can't wait to talk to somebody to figure out, hey, so church works for you? Why? So it's normal? Nobody beat you up with the church? There was no big, mean, scary person? That's the most common thing that you see. And especially when we're starting with the most obvious, when we're starting with people in need, when we're starting with people who are sick, or lonely, or in prison, or poor, you definitely don't get an aggressive kind of response. You just get an open, waiting to be loved kind of response. Does that make sense? Okay. Glory be to God forever. Let's take any questions if you have questions or no questions.
You can take one.
One or two. Any questions? Or, yeah.
So is it useful to bring up Jesus right away, or do you sort of start a regular conversation and then lead it that way?
It really depends on the relationship that you have with you. So the one classic phrase was that we want to develop a relationship so that Christ can walk across, can use that relationship into the person's life. So if it's someone that you've known for a while, not the first thing you want to say, hey man, how's it going? So repentance or no? What's the deal with confession? No, you want to cultivate a friendship, because the number one thing that you want to care about, or you want to show, is listen, I care about you as a person. So I care about what you're into sports-wise, I care about your family, I care about your interests, I care about you. And one of the things that I actually care about is your spiritual perspective. And when people, I can promise you this, from now until eternity, when people can feel that you actually care about them, they don't get offended. And they don't feel but when people feel somehow they're gonna, we treat people like we're these car salesmen sometimes. It's we don't really care about, or maybe this is not really you guys, more so servant students. Where they outreach people and they make it feel all we care about is that you come to church. Begin with showing someone that you care about them deeply, and then, slowly bring in the Jesus. Yeah.
I was going to say a comment. I think it's important to, when you treat someone, you treat them without an expectation of them returning anything to you in return, like love or anything physical, anything like that.
Totally agree. Any last minute ones? Or if not, just as a recap, remember we agreed we want to follow Jesus, not lead him, especially into somewhere that may not be anticipated for us. All right? Thanks so much.